Hi, everybody. Welcome to CourseArc's Lunch and Learn session. This is the second in our series, and we're so glad that you could join us today. I know this is a very unsettling time, and everyone's really under a huge amount of stress, personally and professionally. So what our goal here today is at least try to alleviate, hopefully, some of your professional stress and make it easy if you are in the process of building more content online. The purpose today is to help you get there quickly and provide as much support as possible. So today's session is going to be all about blocks. We have over 30 different block types in CourseArc, and we're not going to have time to cover all of them. So what we've done is we've categorized our blocks, and we're going to touch on most of these. We're probably not going to have time to do assessment. So what I'm going to do is just kind of prep you guys for the possibility that we most likely will push assessments to next week, which actually will lend itself really well to that session because it's all about grading and scoring. But we will definitely get through the first 5, so I want to just briefly talk about them. Content block. The content block is really our basic block. This is the text editor. This is what you use to take text and apply all of those text features that make it readable and easy for students to process and understand the information that they're reading. The second type of blocks we have are blocks that are built on forms. Now, a lot of our blocks have forms, but these we're going to talk about. These are ones that are very similar to each other. And what I mean by that is if you know how to use one of them, you're going to be able to use all of them. So we're just going to show you a few of those. Then we're also going to cover all the different types of ways that you can embed multimedia. It's going to be the third type. The fourth thing is we're going to look at images. So there's several blocks that allow you to work with images and create different types of activities. So we're going to do images. And then the last one that we're probably going to get to today is layout. So these are blocks that are going to help you with the design and page layout in CourseArc. And again, if we have time, we will talk about assessment, but if not, we will pick up with assessment next week. So these are all the different block types. So we're going to go ahead and start talking about blocks. Blocks are what you use to build pages of content. And for the most part, you're going to be working with blocks the majority of the time that you're in CourseArc. So again, I've already talked about this. These are all the different blocks that we're going to look at today. And so I'm going to jump ahead and talk about the content block. So the content block, as I mentioned, it allows you to add all different types of text features, such as headings, lists. You can format, you can create tables and other things. So this is really just kind of like your basic text block. You can do a lot of stuff with the content block. So let's go ahead and show you how that works, okay? So you are on a page of content, and what you're going to see here is that all the pages in CourseArc are set up the same way. They're really divided into 3 sections. So on the left side, you have the navigation, which is going to list all of the pages that are currently in the module you're working in. In the middle is going to be the content, and on the right side is going to be the editing pane. So in order for me to add a block, I'm going to click Edit the Page. And you'll notice right away that the blocks that are already on the page are going to have this red dotted line around them. And that's just a little visual cue that lets you know that you're in edit mode. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add to Content. I'm going to go ahead and hit Add Block here. And you can see this is the list of all the blocks in CourseArc. So before we get started and I show you the content block, I just wanted to mention that with every block, there's going to be the little eye or information icon. So if you're wondering, I wonder what that block is, you can just hover your mouse over the eye icon and it's going to give you information. And it's also going to provide a direct link to our knowledge base. So again, I strongly recommend that you consider using those. So for example, here, the example that I just gave you, it took you right to a piece of information explaining what the Creative Commons attribution block is. Okay, so just wanted to mention that. So you can either scroll through the list and look for the block that you want, or you can use the search button. I'm just going to use the search. So I know I want the content block. I'm going to go ahead and click on that block. Again, the content block is all about creating text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I already have some text ready to go. I'm going to paste that in here. And so now we have text. One thing I do want to mention is that if you are pasting from another source or a piece of software, so from Google Docs, it could be from Microsoft Word, the first tip I just want to mention is you might want to make sure, or you might want to consider using the paste as text button. And what that does is it kind of makes sure that you eliminate any coding or formatting that might carry over from the other piece of software where you're working. So that's my first suggestion. Okay, so we have some text here, and what I'm going to do is just show you. You have the toolbar up above, and so there's lots of things that you can do with the content block. Of course, you can create paragraphs. If you want, you can also create section headings. So if you want, you can create a heading. What's great about this is you can also apply a heading to make sure that it's meeting accessibility standards. So I'm going to go ahead and apply a heading. There's lots of other things that you can do as well. So if you wanted to create a bulleted list, you could do that very easily. Or if you wanted to, you could change it to numbered. Okay, very easy. If you wanted to take some text and you wanted it to stand out, you could highlight it and apply the quote functionality. And then there's other things you can do. You can add links, hyperlinks to a website. You can also add a file if there's a file that you need your students to access. The other thing that's kind of cool is if you are using a glossary in your course, you can also really easily link to a glossary term. So there's a little A to Z button. Again, this is only going to appear if your glossary is actively in use in your course. And so you can go ahead and find a term that you want to link to, and it's going to create a link directly to the glossary. All right, so this is the Add Content button. Another tip, this is completely outside of CourseArc, but if you are a Grammarly fan and use Grammarly, it does work with Grammarly, which is great. You can see my little Grammarly notification there. I'm going to go ahead and hit Add, and now you can see the content is on the page. This is the content block. You'll notice it's still in the red highlighted box, which means it's in editing. So now what I need to do to make sure that this is published is I need to click the Publish My Edits button. If I wasn't happy with what I had done, I could have discarded them, but I'm happy, so I'm going to go ahead and publish this page, and now you have content on the page. This is going to give you a pretty good idea of exactly how it's going to look, but you can also use the preview button right here, which is going to show you how it's going to look for students. And what this is doing is it's going to open it up in a new window without any of the editing buttons, so you can see exactly how it's going to appear for students, which is really nice. So you can see this is the quote, we have the bullets down at the bottom, and then this is how the glossary term appears. So that's just a direct link. Okay, so the second type of block that we're going to talk about are forms. Again, there are several blocks that are not on this list that also have a form type setup, but for these all are very similar. So these are all the different types of blocks that use forms. You have Creative Commons attribution, flashcards, interactive categorization, graphs, matching, poll, quote, in rubric. So let me go ahead and I'm going to talk you through this. First, hit edit this page to toggle into edit mode. You can see that I now see the red dotted line, so I know I'm in edit mode, and I'm going to go ahead and add a block. I'm going to choose the matching block. So I'm going to choose interactive matching, and this is going to be the form that I encounter when I'm building content. All of our forms are going to have the same exact layout. This is very purposeful. It's so regardless of what block you're in, you're going to know exactly what to do. So the first thing is any settings that appear are going to be at the top. If you are scoring, you'll be able to modify the point value. Point value is going to be 5 as a default. And if there is the ability to customize anything else, that will be at the top. Okay, so I'm going to change this to Latin root, English. All right. So this is the settings at the top. On the left side is where all of the items that you're creating are going to populate in a list. And then on the right side over here is where you add new items. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this really quickly. Let me look at my notes. I have all my notes here to make this go really fast. Okay, so the first one is we're going to do death, and I'm going to do the Latin root words. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a pair, and then I'm going to save it. So I'm going to do to right, which is the next one. I'm going to do doing all of the really easy Latin roots that I remember. And then, okay. All right, so you can see I have the terms on the left side. I can continue adding them. You notice every time I added a term, I hit save. If I need to go back and modify a term, again, I would just look at the list that's been populated on the left side of all my items. I can either modify it or I can remove the term, okay? You'll also notice that in all of our forms, there will be a red asterisk that indicates if it is a required field. So obviously in this case, you have to enter both sets for the full pair for it to work, for it to save. Otherwise you will be prompted with an error message. I'm going to go ahead and click add, and you can see that my matching activity is in preview mode. I'm going to go ahead and publish that just like I did before. You'll notice that it's going to take on the theme that's already established by the organization. And I can go ahead and click in preview and test it out just as a student would. So I can go ahead and I'm going to get one right. I can hit check latest move. I'm going to get one wrong here. So you can see how that works. And then I'm going to click on the alternative activity. And you can see that this is generated automatically. There's nothing I need to do. That's automatically created for any student that might have a disability. Okay, so I want to point out one more thing. I'm going to go ahead and give a couple more examples on this page. I just wanted to show you guys one more thing really quick. It's kind of cool. So again, we talked about the glossary before. I just want to mention that if you do, one of the big perks of using a glossary is you can really quickly pull those terms in. So if you do have a glossary in your course, you can just quickly pull in terms. And this is great, especially if you're, again, this is one of those really time-saving functions. So if you're trying to put content online really quickly, you have all of your vocabulary words saved in a spreadsheet. You can, again, none of these terms are related to each other, but you guys get the idea. You can really quickly add them from the glossary. You can be assured that they're going to be spelled right. And also, if multiple teachers in multiple sections are creating similar content, you also can be assured that everyone's using the correct definitions and in the same manner, okay? Okay, so there's several blocks that support embedding multimedia. I have them listed here. And we also are working on a Kaltura block as well. So with these blocks, you really just need a link to it or embed code for it to work. And I want to make sure you guys know that oftentimes you can embed the video in several different ways. So you could, for example, use HTML, you can use a generic video, or YouTube. You could use all three of those and it gives you the same output. So it's really up to you. So we have a couple examples that I already put on this page. This is a block that is embedded. I believe this is from Vimeo. And you can see the transcript is included. The transcript is right there. And then this is a sample audio block that is embedded from SoundCloud. And again, the audio transcript is there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you how this works. Again, I'm not going to show you all of those blocks. I'm just going to show you one of them. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and use the YouTube block. So I'm going to go ahead and click YouTube. The generic video allows you just to kind of explain, to pull in whatever you want. You can open it in a new link or you can embed it. Again, our recommendation is to embed it. It's going to be a much better experience for the student. And you can use either one. The YouTube is just built to make it really, really easy. So again, hopefully I have the right code here. And so the nice thing about this is all you need is the URL. So you can change the title. I wouldn't adjust the width and the height unless you really think, you know, you need to. These are the standard dimensions. So we have that pre-built in for you. And again, the transcript would go here. I'm going to go ahead and click add. All right, so when I add it on the page, you'll notice that a lot of times it is not going to display in edit mode. So that's totally normal. Don't worry about it. Once you hit publish, you'll be able to see it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit publish. And you can see these are the top 10 tips. I'm going to go ahead and just click preview. And there it is. Okay. Okay, so images are great. You obviously want to make sure that you're using images as much as possible. They're going to provide a much better experience for the students. So this is an example of an image with text. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to add an image. I'm going to click on edit. I'm going to go to add an image. And in this case, I'm going to go to the file manager. I've already uploaded an image. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the image that I've uploaded. I'm going to pick this one, the digestive system. And what's going to happen is it's going to show me a little thumbnail picture. And then I have a bunch of different options that I can do. So the first one is the alignment. So I'm going to go ahead and just have that center aligned. I'm going to add some alt text. If you want to add a caption, you can. That's totally fine. And then if you want to add the attribution, you can do that as well. So this, the digestive system, you can link to where you got it from. I'm just going to put my name. And then if you want to add a zoom, you can. I'm going to go ahead and click next. If you want to resize the image, you're welcome to. All you really need to do here is you can put in the number of the width, and then we'll automatically adjust the height to make sure that it's in proportion, or you can drag it. Either one is fine. I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm going to go ahead and hit add, and now you have your image on the page. So again, really easy to add images. Again, I'm trying to give some rapid development tips here. My suggestion is when you're working with images, I would make sure that you upload your images before you get started. So make sure you put them all into the file manager. In terms of the alignment, so I want to go back, I'm going to publish my edits. I'm going to go back to image and text. And the alignment, so the previous example, I aligned it, the image to the left. I'm sorry, to the center. This one is aligned to the right. So I just wanted to mention alignment. What alignment means is that's where your image is going to be placed on the page. So in this case, if the image is aligned to the right, the text is going to wrap to the left. Now note that you're not going to be able to see that alignment in action when you're in edit mode. You're only going to be able to see that when you actually have published the edits and you're in preview mode. Okay, so I just want to mention that. So you can see here, the image is aligned to the right, and then it's, you know, the text is obviously wrapping to the left. So we have multiple blocks that support images. So we have flashcards with images, we have image hotspots, image labeling, and image matching. Lots of different things, and we have a new block that's going to be coming soon. So I'm just going to show you one of those block types. I'm going to show you image hotspots. So again, I'm going to go ahead and pick the same image that I had before, the digestive system. Make sure that you're really descriptive with your alt text. And I'm going to go ahead and click right here. And I'm going to label this the esophagus. I'm going to go ahead and paste the content. And then if I want, I can add an audio file, right? And then I can go back and I can repeat the process. Again, all of my items that I add are going to show up to the left. I'm just going to just show you this one so you can kind of get the sense of how it works. I'm going to publish my edits. So you can imagine the student would come here and they can click on this and it will give them some contextual image on some contextual information directly on the image, which is great. The nice thing about this, again, similar to some of our other blocks, is we auto-generate a transcript. So if there is a student that has a visual impairment, they won't have any problem getting the same information. So these are several blocks that help you with your design and layout. So we have the accordion, HTML. You can obviously use some custom HTML, icons, section breaks, and tabs. So I'm going to show you two of them today. This is the accordion block. With the accordion and the tab blocks are very, very similar. So they allow you to chunk content. So you can put content into the accordion and the tab block, and it just makes it nice for the students. The students then can digest a much smaller chunk of content at one time. We are working on some really exciting changes to the accordion and the tab block. So we are going to have a special webinar on that probably in about 3 weeks. We anticipate those changes to be done. So we're excited about that. More on that later. So section break. You can see here, I have this image is aligned. I'm going to go ahead and go into edit mode. This image is aligned to the left, but as a result, this icon, like is kind of popping over here to the right, and I don't like that. So one of the features that we have to help with layouts is called a section break. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. It's really easy. You just say you want a section break. I'm going to click add. And this little thing right here, there's nothing in it, allows you to move the section break wherever you want it. And what that's doing is it's just going to force a break. So anything that is below the break is not going to wrap, if that makes sense. So let me show you what I mean by that. So now you can see you can't see it, but I have a section break right in here. And so now the icon and text is going to be aligned all the way to the left. So that's one thing that we have in terms of layout. So the second thing I wanted to demonstrate is icon and text. I'm going to go ahead and click add block. Icon and text is really important when you're building online content. And this is a tool you can use to really create directions that are explicit for students. So when you go to icon and text, whatever icon bank has been established by your organization is going to appear. So you can click on the icon that you want to use, and then you can put in directions. Again, you want to be really explicit when you're online. Please complete the following. And then you add that. And what's nice about that is you'll notice the icon and text then will appear on the page using, pulling the theme colors that have already been dictated by the organization. So icon and text is a really great way for you to have a nice layout and clear directions for your students.